Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Gardner, JArts Collaborations Manager. It's so wonderful to be with you for JLive. JLive is JArts' virtual series bringing us together to explore and celebrate the diverse world of Jewish art, culture, and creative expression. In JLive Food, we're bringing you bite-sized conversations and cooking demos and much more with the best Boston area chefs and culinary talent. In today's episode of JLive Food, I'm so excited to welcome Jen Ziskin, owner at Morra and owner and wine director at Heritage of Sherborn. Jen and her husband, Josh Ziskin, have been longtime JArts collaborators and friends. You may remember them from the many years they dished out delicious plates at Beyond Bubby's Kitchen. Today, we'll be doing a wine tasting with Jen, featuring a couple of wines that will offer some great pairings for Shavuot-friendly dishes. We'll have time at the end of the tasting for questions, so please share yours in the Q&A section below, and I will ask as many as time allows at the end of our segment. Now let's enjoy. Take it away, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. So exciting to be here. And it's really funny because 2 weeks before we closed, I actually traveled to Philadelphia and went and took my test with the Court of Master Sommeliers to get my certified Somm test. And then right before this session, I was so excited to wear my pin. And I was telling Sarah that I went to get dressed and right before I couldn't find my pin anywhere. But lo and behold, they told me to go back, look again, and I found it. So I'm very excited. It's fun to be able to practice wine tasting. It's been a long couple months for us. It's been a long couple months, I'm sure, for everybody as well. And I'm just really excited to be here today and sharing some of my favorite wine with you. Josh and I have been participating in Bubby's Kitchen for as long as I can imagine or remember through Morra, and now most recently with Heritage as well. Morra, we've been open almost 17 years now, and Heritage of Sherborn will be celebrating the 5-year anniversary on June 12th. Hopefully we'll be reopened at least outside by that date. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. If not, we'll definitely have something celebratory for takeout where we're offering takeout at both restaurants. So Josh and I always had this special connection with Bubby's Kitchen because in some ways, both of us, we grew up Jewish, and in some ways we had an arranged marriage, so we hear. So our grandmothers, Millie and Bee, actually were the ones who set us up, and our moms grew up together. The families were best friends. There was even a family kind of rift at some point. So it's really funny that we go way back. So it's always this special connection as well, and I thought it would be really fun to participate today. And, you know, Sarah, when she talked about it being Shavuot, we thought that would be great. I said, okay, but I really, you know, maybe have become more of an expert in wine, not so much in Shavuot. However, she did tell me that the focus should be on dairy pairings today. So with wine, I love a great story. So I picked some of my favorite wine that I have great stories with. So I'm going to be showing you today a wine called, it's an Arnaise, is the grape, from Vietti as the producer. And it's a winery that was located right near where Josh and I lived in Italy. And we lived there about 23 years ago. So the winery is located in Castiglione Folletto, and we lived in Morra, thus the name of the restaurant. Really, I developed my love of wine in Morra, so I always like to kind of go back to Italy when I do a lot of these fun tastings and pairings because I have such a fondness for Italian wine. I wanted to find things that would pair well with a dairy menu. So when I was focusing on the white, I was really focusing a lot on maybe appetizers that you would have, more like vegetables, salads, aperitif type of appetizers that you would have, but also that would go well with cheese and any kind of cheese-based dishes as well. I find the Vietti Arnaise is extremely versatile. And it's a great pairing with dairy and especially with cheese and then citrus type food. So the Vietti family, it's owned by the Corrados, and they're very special to us. When we first traveled to Italy, before we even found a place to live and to work, we had visited their winery just because someone told us, like, don't miss this winery. It's really spectacular. It's located in the next town from Elba. You have to go to Elba. There's a huge truffle festival. And again, this is 23 years ago. So we went to the family's winery, and the mom, who's beautiful, Luciana, gave us a tour of the winery. And we didn't have any kind of transportation. So their son, Luca Corrado, had come and picked us up in Alba to take us to the winery. So they gave us a tour. And then it was after having our tour of the winery, the mom said to Luca, bring them back to Alba. They need to go back. And he was like, Mama, no, I don't want to go back now. Can't they just stay for lunch? So we ended up staying with them for lunch. And I, of course, helped set the table, stayed in the front of the house. And Josh helped in the kitchen and helped them prepare lunch for the family. And lunch is a time there where it's basically like our dinner. Everybody comes home from work, they have a siesta, and they all gather together. So we had this great connection with the family. And in the end, stayed for lunch, ended up being kind of our home away from home while we lived there. I took a lot of tours while I was living there because every time we had family visiting us, we would take them to see the Vietti vineyards. And now to this day, Luca is the owner and winemaker with his wife. So again, really a special connection that we've had. And all of the wines on both of our wine lists at the restaurants, we really try to focus on these kind of special connections. So Arnase, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an indigenous varietal to Piedmont. So it's only grown in Piedmont. And it's grown from way, way back. And they originally had planted the Arnase to kind of ward off all the predators from the Nebbiolo. And Nebbiolo is the grape that goes into Barolo and the very prized grape of that area. Barolo is the king of wines, as they say in Italy. So they wanted to protect their Nebbiolo, so they had planted Arnase in order to do that. As years went on and they found that land was becoming more scarce, a lot of people pulled up the Arnase to plant more Nebbiolo. However, Alfredo Corrado, Luca's dad, was a pioneer with some other very famous winemakers like Bruno Giacosa, and they actually really did work Arnase as well. So again, this is not a grape that you'll find everywhere, but this is definitely a wine. You can find it in our wine shop at Heritage and also on both menus at both restaurants too. And it's something to look for, not super expensive. It's a great meet in the middle wine. Someone who likes Chardonnay, someone who likes Pinot Grigio, someone who likes Sauvignon Blanc, they're sure to enjoy Arnase. So it has amazing acidity. So I already poured myself a glass, I'll admit. Give myself a little more to freshen up the glass. They always say when you go to taste a wine, you should always freshen it up a little before you actually go to taste. When you're tasting wine, it's good to first give it a smell and then move around in your glass so you open up the aromas. And then again, give it another smell. It's amazing. You can really identify a lot of the aromas and the flavors that you'll get in a wine just from the nose of the wine. So I get some beautiful citrus notes with this, some lemon, a little lime, definitely some melon flavors too. And also a little bit of honey. And also this was a grape that would attract the bees as well. And the Arnase actually means little rascal in Piedmontese dialect. So then you give it a taste. And confirming all of the flavors I had. A lot of people talk about acidity in a wine. And the way you can tell the acidity in a wine is if you take a taste of it, and this is kind of, I won't do this because I will start probably drooling, but you lean your face forward and you open your mouth, and the more saliva that you have, almost like a drooling sensation happens, that's the higher acidity that you can find in the wine. And this wine has pretty high acidity. My mouth is watering, and what's great about wine that has acid is it makes you crave food. And I'm definitely craving food with this wine. So this wine doesn't see any oak. It's made 100% stainless steel. They do the fermentation process where they're converting the grapes and converting the juice into wine in stainless steel tanks. And then what they do, they actually don't bottle the wine right away. They leave it aging on the lees. So the lees are the dead yeast. And that happens when the yeast eats up all the alcohol, the yeast dies, and so you have these things called lees, and it ages on the lees, and that can give it this kind of rounder flavor and a little bit more, can give some wines, like a doughy, yeasty quality to it. And this really gives, it softens the acidity a lot, and it gives it a roundness and a fullness as well, which is why I think it really is pleasing to someone who likes Chardonnay.
Well, and Jen, can I just jump in here with a question?
Absolutely.
Well, to the point of acidity, because I think that's a major determinant in, pairing. Is that one of the criteria you use when you're pairing wines with meat versus dairy? And if not, are there, what other criteria do you use when you make those pairings?
That's a great question. So acid, you always want to find a wine, you want to have more acid in the wine than in the food. So things like, especially salads, I know it's not necessarily dairy, but it would be on a dairy menu. That something with, to pair with salad, you want it to have a higher acid. So even higher than the acid you're getting in the salad itself. Often with meat, you want to look at what the sauces are that you're pairing with rather than just the meat itself. Kind of the rule of thumb, you can look at white wine pairing with chicken and pork and fish, and red wine tends to be closer to meat. However, lighter reds certainly pair with all those kind of lighter style meats as well. And again, if you have a chicken, but you have a heavy sauce with the chicken, again, you might go to a bolder red wine too. So you want to look at all the flavor components in the dish, and then you can look at some of the flavor components, the acid, as well, the level of sugar and sweetness in the wine when you're doing your pairings. So for this, something not all cheeses, but a creamier cheese, this would go well with. And a lot of cheese, Chardonnay is a great pairing from anywhere in the world with cheese. But this too definitely is something that can go well with cheese. And again, that acid in wine really makes it compatible to, just about any type of food. So that's why Italy's wines, because they do have a higher level of acid, they tend to pair well with just about anything, which is why I love Italian wine.
Love that. That's great. And you have another wine, right, to show us today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool.
So then we're going to switch to red. So we're going to go over to Verona, and I often get to go to Verona. They have a wine show there. Sorry, I have to put it in front of me so it doesn't disappear in thin air. I don't like my wine to disappear. So every year, Verona has a wine show called Vinitaly, and all the winemakers from all over Italy go to Verona for this show, no matter, almost like the tiniest wineries around. So it's a great time. I've gone with Bernie from, who's our beverage and wine director at La Morra. She and I have gone a few times, gone with my old manager at La Morra, and also with Josh. I love going, and this year was the first year that they've canceled Vinitaly. So it was very sad and really difficult for all the producers in Italy, because they had to, cancel all their events. They weren't able to showcase the current vintage. So a lot of them are doing a lot of these virtual wine tastings to show their current vintage. I talk about that show because Allegrini is located about an hour north of that, of Verona. And it's located in Valpolicella. And Palazzo della Torre is actually their palace, and they have vineyards right around it. And the Allegrini family is a very famous producer, one of the original producers and historical producers of Amarone, which, if you talk about Barolo in Piedmont, where the Viettis are, the Allegrinis are, and the Amarone is kind of the wine of Verona as Barolo is to Piedmont. So Amarone is an amazing pairing with cheese and with desserts, dark chocolates, and hearty meats. Not for this session. But the way they make Amarone is they use these traditional varietals, Corvina, Rondinello, Molinara, and some, and also Corvinone. And they use different varietals. They can add a little bit of Sangiovese as well. They age all of the grapes before they press them for 100 days. So they literally have to, they dry them in these kind of either outside back in the olden days, and now they have drying rooms. So they dry the grapes for 100 days before they press them. So it loses a lot of the juice in that process, and also creates more sugar as well in the grapes. but it creates this beautiful, rich, silk, velvety, kind of dark raisiny wine that goes well with hearty meats, but also goes well with cheese. Well, this is called kind of a baby Amarone. So Palazzo della Torre is the palace where Bernie and I have been. They throw a great party there during Vinitaly. And they take 30% of the grapes and they take the Corvinone, that indigenous varietal, and they dry that for as long as they would dry the grapes for Amarone, which is 100 days. So they dry those grapes till January. And then they take the other grapes that would also go into Amarone, but with those, they press them right away and they go through a fermentation right away. Then in January, they take the juice from the grapes that they pressed right after the harvest, and they take the juice from the grapes that they dried, 30%. They blend the wine, and then they age it for 15 months in second passage barrels. So second passage barrels means it's not going to have that kind of crazy, oaky, full, like vanilla flavor to it. Sweetness, it has this cardamom flavors, and it really creates this well-balanced wine, because the wines that age tend to get, because they have higher sugar, sorry, I keep saying aging, I mean dry, they have higher sugar. So when they go through this fermentation process, because there's more sugar for the yeast to eat, it has higher alcohol. So what happens is the wines that they don't dry and they blend kind of lower that and balance it with acid. So this is like an amazing balanced wine. This is definitely something for a cheese course. So if you're having any type of cheese with your meal, especially for Shavout, this is the wine you want to find. And these are great wines. They're not crazy expensive. If you see them on wine lists, you're basically getting, something similar to what would be an Amarone, however, with like a quarter of the price, and also that can pair well with just about anything. Definitely more hearty dishes though, like even like Alfredo sauces, the risottos that we have on both menus. This will be an excellent pairing for that. And for the summer, any of your grilled meats as well.
And so they're available at La Morra, right?
Yep, we have both
through
of
your
them.
website.
Yes, so we have them actually at both restaurants. So that's the only exciting thing about what is going on right now, is that we can do wine from our menu, that you can, when you order takeout and pick up takeout or have it delivered, we can also deliver 2 bottles of wine and beer with that as well. So that was really the only kind of positive thing, especially because we have this amazing wine list. And we definitely, restaurant pricing on a wine list is a little different because there's a lot of overhead than you would see in retail. So we've lowered a lot of our prices. So you can get really some special bottles from the restaurant. But we do also have a wine shop at Heritage, so you can get the retail wine from there. And they do offer discounts. We offer discounts with case purchases as well. So for this wine, you're getting a lot of dark fruit flavor, definitely some of those spices, not too like that kind of hearty vanilla spice that you would get from New Oak, but more like a cinnamon type spice as well from this, a little bit of black pepper as well. And again, it has that great balance of acidity that really makes it a terrific food wine too.
Beautiful. I love that. Amazing. Well, I have a few questions from our audience. So before we go, I want to make sure to ask you. So you talked a lot at the beginning about your Jewish heritage and Josh's Jewish heritage. And then, of course, you took this amazing trip and lived in Italy and go back there a lot. And I'm wondering if, does your Jewish identity and how you grew up and that heritage inform any of the food or any of the drink that you serve at La Morra and Heritage? Because I know it's so rooted in Italian culture, but is there also this a Jewish element to it?
That's a great question. And actually at La Morra, I would say not as much because it is really focused on Northern Italian cuisine. And there is a lot of pork in the dishes.
Okay, we won't tell anyone.
No, we won't tell anyone. We have amazing fish dishes at both restaurants. So people who are kosher and do still eat out and eat more kosher style, especially, and we also do catering for bar and bat mitzvahs. So we do have a lot of options that don't have pork in them. However, Italian cooking does have a lot of prosciutto. So some of the dishes do have that. So I don't see as much of the influence other than when we're doing catering. But at Heritage, part of coming up with the name of Heritage was getting back to our heritage as well. And the other cool thing about what we found out actually after we bought the property was my grandfather, my papa on my mom's side, was actually born in Sherborn. So we had this other connection to Sherborn as well, and used the name of the restaurant to reflect that. But on it, we have Murray's chopped liver, and that's a recipe from Josh's grandfather, Murray, as well. And I knew them because Josh's grandmother and grandfather grew up in Plymouth, and we went to their temple. So Josh would come home from Brookline and come to the high holiday services, and I always thought he was adorable. He always thought my sister was adorable, but we won't go there. But so growing up, that I would say we have more of an influence on the heritage menu from, kind of the Jewish influence, except at Passover at La Morra, every year we do a really amazing Passover menu as well that has, and we also serve matzah with it. So that's kind of a fun time to come to La Morra too.
I love that, especially because it's so hard to eat out on Passover. You can have like a delicious Italian Passover appropriate feast. So that's wonderful. And I'm so glad we can all know that for next year, hopefully, when it will be open. I have two more questions for you. The first question is sort of a short one, and then the second one is something for our audience members. So the first question is, for you personally, when we talk about dairy, are you more of a sweet dairy, kind of cheesecake, cheese blintz kind of person, or are you more a cheese plate kind of person on the savory side of things?
I am definitely a cheese plate. I'd like to say I don't have a crazy sweet tooth at all. But I pulled a couple pieces of cheese earlier just in case I needed a snack or something to pair with the wine, since it is happy hour. But I'm definitely a cheese plate eater. Like, I'll take that over any dessert anytime.
I love that. Amazing. And then the final question, is there a challenge or an activity that you can leave with our audience, maybe to do with wine, for this time while we're all trying to stay creative and stay active?
I think just delving into different wines, going outside your comfort zone when you're looking on a wine list, especially things by the glass, see what the restaurant has put on by the glass. We do a lot of fun things like the Arnaise, like agave, things that you might not have heard of. And those are always like great deals as well. So I would kind of go outside your comfort zone, whether you go into a wine shop, ordering from the menu at these different restaurants now, and then practice what I was telling you about the acidity. I think that's a fun way to kind of think about wine and think about the acid level, how much it makes your mouth water. And the other thing you can do is kind of think about the tannins in a wine, and tannins can give a wine longevity. And that's going to give you this like drying sensation in your mid palate, where this wine has some nice tannins. And I know this wine is ageable. It's something you can drink in, 5-10 years from now because of some of those tannins that have developed.
That's wonderful. Amazing. Thank you. Well, I want to turn it over to you to just share some offerings from La Morra and Heritage in this time. I know you touched on them, but there's so many things going on. So we'd love to know.
Thank you. So we hope you'll come to our website or join our email list as well. Chef Josh, my husband, he's been doing cooking at home with Chef Josh every Saturday night at 6:00. And we post the link. It's always the same meeting link for Zoom week to week. And he'll be doing that tomorrow night. And as long as we're not open for service, which who knows, it's hard to tell how much longer phase 1 will go. So that's fun. And then Bernie Keaveney, our wine and beverage director at La Morra, is going to be doing an upcoming cocktail class too. So take a look at our Facebook page and stay up on our virtual events. And also, as we speak, we've been kind of readying Heritage's outside dining. We have 2 tents coming for the summer, a huge kind of picnic table space as well. All of our guests, our amazing guests, have actually been donating and sponsoring tables and heaters and umbrellas and fire pits. So it's going to be a really fun outdoor space, which we found out today. As soon as phase 2 is announced, we will be ready to go with that. But in the meantime, just joining us for takeout would be great. And we do takeout and delivery right from both of our restaurant websites.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, we'll be sure to do that and cannot wait to join you on the patio at Heritage. And just to wrap us up, thank you so much for inspired all of their cheese plate or cheesecake. And before everyone goes, just a reminder that our next JLive food segment will air 2 Fridays from now on June 12th. Annabelle Rabia from the Awafi Kitchen will be leading us through an awesome cooking demo of kube, which is an Iraqi Jewish specialty. It's going to be really delicious. And tune in this week for JLive Art with Deb Petnoy on Monday at 12 p.m. This week also we have a special virtual book talk for our JLab series with Josh Frank, the author of Giraffes on Horseback Salad, the Marx Brothers, Salvador Dali, and The Strangest Movie Never Made. So that's going to be a really fun book talk that's coming up on Tuesday. Programs like these are only possible with your support. So if you like what you see, please consider contributing to J Arts. No matter the circumstances, we're so dedicated to letting culture connect us and continue to connect us. You can follow us at J Arts Boston on Instagram and Facebook for more great content. And thank you for joining us, and Chag Sameach. Thank you so much, Jen.
Cheers. Chag
Bye,
Sameach.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.